you have a reputation as among the most beautiful blonde in the world, but a kind of a dumb girl because you're a beautiful blonde. And blondes and dumbness seem to go together. I think it all started with maybe with gentlemen prefer blondes.
You know, it's interesting that people associate if you happen to have blonde hair naturally or not. You're absolutely dumb. I mean, you're considered dumb. I don't know why that is. I think it's a very limited view.
With Marilyn Monroe as Lorelei Lee, the world's most fabulous clothing and blonde. And Jane Russell as Dorothy Shaw, the world's most talked about brunette.
I got the Marilyn Monroe tattoo because she created a character that she lived behind.
Will it be a different hair thing?
Hi, I'm Madison. I am 26 years old and I'm a hairstylist here in Los Angeles. Every artist has a story. I grew up kind of a tomboy, pretty focused on school and sports. The first time I ever had my world opened up to creativity, I was about 13 or 14. I got into YouTube and Tumblr. Tumblr was an outlet for me to express myself where nobody could see it. At the time, Instagram was popular, but Tumblr was not yet, at least not for people my age. So it was a place where I could be completely myself without anybody being able to see it. Tumblr led me to photography, YouTube led me to videography, and I found a creative outlet through that, but still I was very tomboyish. I didn't really own a lot of makeup. I was never really into hair in that way. My best friend and I were kind of, I would say, leaders of the grunge movement. We kind of hopped on the train right as it happened, got straight to work. We would hang out constantly to plan shoots. We would go down to like the outfits, the hair, the makeup, everything at 13 and 14 years old. And we would just really get into the vibe of what we wanted to create. So we started creating like these grunge photo shoots and they did really well on Tumblr at the time because it was just what was popular. The photos still pop up from time to time on Pinterest, or I don't have Twitter, but on Twitter there's like quotes over like our photos and stuff and people will just send them to me and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. That was 12 years ago.
I probably reposted you.
I'll show you some photos at some point because yeah, they still linger. So yeah, I was doing that, and then YouTube, I had fan pages when I was like 13 and 14 that people had made of me and would make like edits of my friends and I that were on our YouTube channel together. That was my first introduction to, okay, I can be creative. Like there's this outlet that's not just excel at sports in school. Every like guy I've ever talked to in California, they're always like, you're so different than other girls. And I'm like, it's because I'm from the Midwest. If you want to find a wife or a husband, go to the Midwest. You'll find yourself.
Oh my God.
one.
I saw something on TikTok about being Midwest rich, and it was like having a snowmobile or having like a really good camper van or something.
Or having like a boat on a lake.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
I love
that's
it.
the
I
vibes
really
for
love
sure.
going to Michigan.
I've actually never been to Michigan. It's not even far from where I'm from, but I've just never been. I've been to 28 states, so I've been to a decent amount, but I've just never gone to Michigan.
Why'd you go to 28 states?
A lot of it was skiing, but I did also live in a van for a small portion of my life too. Right after I graduated high school, we were like ski stone or rock climbers, and we bought a van and then I moved to California.
Can you tell us more about that? That sounds really interesting.
13 and 14, I was super into YouTube and Tumblr and stuff, and then started smoking weed, and then I got into skiing, and then I got into rock climbing, and like all these outdoor sports. I started like camping and backpacking and all that stuff. Naturally, I was just like, well, I want to live everywhere, so I need a van because I need to live everywhere. When I was 18 or 19, I think, I purchased, it was a decommissioned ambulance. Not like the square ones, it was like the private ambulances that are like tall and they have like the tall thing on top, kind of. Remodeled it and we like lived out of it to like ski and stuff. Spent a decent amount of time in Colorado, and then I've just traveled like a lot of the eastern side of the U.S. I think I've hit every state because my family's from like West Virginia and Maryland. I haven't gone up to the Pacific Northwest yet though. I really, really want to do that.
Oh, me neither. I really want to do that.
I don't think I could live there because it rains too much, and we're so spoiled like with the weather here. Like I don't think I could live somewhere like that.
I'm from rural New Zealand.
Okay.
My village had like 10,000 people. The town had maybe I have like literally no idea. I don't know. It's not big though. If you wanted to go to a concert, you would either drive 4 hours to the capital, like 6 hours to Auckland.
Wow.
I meet a lot of New Zealanders in LA, London, in all sorts of creative places because we are like hungry for experience.
I would say Ohio is similar because we're about like a 9-hour drive from New York City, but still like we're so far from anything quite like major. I have met insane amounts of people from Ohio here in LA. I have this whole friend group that they're from Ohio, but I never knew them in Ohio, but they all live here.
My favorite TikToker is from Ohio.
Really?
Yeah,
that's why I had questions about New Zealand because I watched this guy who's from New Zealand. I don't know if they still live there.
What's their name? Do you know the amount of times I've heard that in LA and I say, what's their name? And I actually know them.
Is Maori how you say it? I don't want to say it.
Maori.
Yeah. Okay. So he...
Maori. Sorry.
I forget what his name is, but his stuff just pops up all the time. He has like a wife and kids and he just like eats a lot of like seafood and like makes stuff for his... I forget his name. He's so sweet. And like the other day I saw him make this video and he was like, people always praise me for like taking my daughters out to do something or getting something for my pregnant wife, but like if my wife did this stuff, like she would just be considered a normal mom. So like stop. Basically. And I was like, that's crazy. Like recently he's been doing this like series where he's with like other influencers and he has them try quinoa for the first time. I want to eat it so bad. I like everything on his channel. I'm like, oh my God,
you have to go to New Zealand.
I know. So I really want to, like, because of him, I've seen other influencers that are also from there and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Well, I'm a vegetarian, but I feel like New Zealand is the place to enjoy seafood, truly. In New Zealand, just having access to nature and having space and like not being so close to anything important was kind of good, I think, as a kid.
I think Ohio is like, for the most part, where I grew up, quite suburban. So it's very much just, I used to work at a ski resort that was in the national park that we had in the state. And so that was very like rural and where I got like my fix of nature. That's what inspired a lot of my traveling was I'm just like looking for more nature. So originally, before I moved to LA, before I broke up with my ex, we were going to move to Colorado. I loved Colorado. I had visited and I loved it there. And then I moved to LA and LA is starkly different. And I learned so many things about myself here and learned different parts of myself. And then now my boyfriend and I just moved to Lake Arrowhead, which feels like I live in Colorado, but also I'm an hour and 30 minutes from LA. So it's kind of like I do truly have the best of both worlds. I live in nature, but I'm also in the city every weekend, you know?
It strikes me as similar to how you described where you grew up.
Yeah.
Close to the city.
Yes.
But like best of both worlds.
Yeah, I just have the best of both worlds. It's truly like, it's a dream, honestly. So I didn't realize I was bisexual until I was like 4 years into my relationship in high school. But at this point, I think I was around 19 or 20. I was working at the ski resort and all of my best friends there were lesbians.
That checks out.
And I was like...
Were they skiing or snowboarding?
Snowboarding. I was friends with guys and lesbians and that was it. Like truly not a straight girl in sight. Everybody knows everybody. And so I felt too like stifled to explore that because I was like, I don't need my business out in front of everybody.
Yeah.
So when I moved to LA, I started exploring like my bisexuality and like, you know, like going on dates with girls or going out with girls or whatever. And girls are way harder than guys, like 1,000%. Even like dating them, so much harder than guys. Like guys are easy and it just feels like my two longest best friends that are girls are both autistic, ADHD, and bisexual. Both of them. Like, so we're the perfect trio. We got all matching diagnoses. I have been a night owl since I was a kid. Staying up all night is so easy for me. I heard this theory, and it could be very far off, but I heard this theory that, you know, back when people lived in tribes, there were day people and night people because you can't leave your entire village just unprotected all night, right? So there's night people and day people, and so there's a possibility that the reason that your biology is that way is because of these habits from long ago. I don't know how true that is, but like to me it always rang true because I just feel like despite my best efforts to become a day person and sleep at good hours, my brain does not wake up until like 2 p.m. I need the morning to just be... like tomorrow morning I work 10 a.m. at the salon and that is the earliest I will ever work at the salon. Normally it's 11 for me at the earliest because I don't feel like I can be as social because so much thought goes into what I do. I need to be awake. The brain's got to be working. Otherwise it's not going to be what I want it to be.
I've also heard the theory that neurodivergent people, because of your different perceptions of things like color, you know, you're more likely to have synesthesia, light sensitivity, color sensitivity, sound sensitivity. If you're on the spectrum or ADHD, those people provided like an essential lens or essential like earpiece or something for human cultures.
Something I learned as an adult is having ADHD and having autism and being someone that's so tuned into the world all the time and like constantly being stimulated by your environment, you are naturally going to get more exhausted like than other people. Like I would say I require more sleep than most people. And at first I was like, oh, there's something wrong with me. And then it's like, well, no, you're unmedicated and you're constantly being overwhelmed by the world. So the time that you are awake feels like double because your brain's doing overtime. My only superpower would be when it comes to hair, I think I approach it in such a logical sense. And also I will fight with anyone about the color of something. It's interesting because I have heard that everybody perceives color different. So when we say that something is the color purple, that's a societal agreement that something is purple, right? Because everybody sees a different shade. Yeah, it's a reference. Yeah. But I will fight with anyone to my death on what the color of something is because I have to be so precise with my job and doing people's hair and seeing what undertones are in certain colors in order to make it another color that like, if I say something is purple and not blue, it is purple and not blue. And I will die on that hill.
That is so
I
true.
will die on it because my eye is so tuned into what is what color, what are the undertones. It's extremely vital to my job in order for me to be a perfectionist. Even when it comes to like shades of brown, shades of gray, shades of blonde, shades of what, like I can see all the undertones that are in something and I know that my eye is accurate because of my job. So like
that's autism power.
Yeah. Like sometimes like, you know, like my boyfriend will be like, oh yeah, that red. And I'm like, that's salmon. Like there's pink in that.
I think of the Ross quote.
Has anyone seen my shirt? It's a button down, like a faded salmon color.
You mean your pink shirt?
Faded salmon color?
No, I haven't seen your pink shirt.
That's my life, basically.
Okay, so we're gonna do a little highlight. The color that I'm most into at the moment is red.
Oh my gosh,
We
couldn't
didn't
tell.
My mom's favorite color was red. James's favorite color is red.
My boyfriend's favorite color is red.
Interesting, because it's the color that statistically men like the least.
That's so interesting. I didn't know that.
I feel like I was red avoidant for like many years. I don't know why. I was afraid of its power, but now I'm really into red.
Yeah, I think I also was red avoidant. And then when I was in like my hot girl era and I was like, let's try out being hot, I started wearing like red clothes and I would constantly get compliments and be like, red looks so good on you. And I was like, oh, maybe I do like red.
It's so powerful.
Yeah.
Red. Red is the color of rage and love. Rage and love. Or
have you seen I forget, I think his name is like Jose something, and he has a special on HBO Max and he talks about, you have to watch it if you haven't seen it. He's an artist. He's just on a stage and he's like red, and red is the color of like rage, and then he's like, and yellow is the color of happy. And so that's why most people love orange actors, because they exemplify the rage you expect from men, but yet the joyful and wonderness of a child. And so most people like orange actors, and like it's so interesting. And he's like, purple is the color of mystery, and then he like goes on a tangent and like explains it, and then like he's
it's true because it's royal, and royal people,
yeah,
like the royalty was so far removed from the world,
yeah,
in history.
And then he was like, blue is like the color of like analytics and like coding and like order,
all the tech
like
companies.
And then he's like, navy blue, that's the police. And he like goes into this whole thing and relates all the colors to one another and how they mix and how it makes sense. And like it's funny because he is comedic, but it also fed my brain in a way because I'm the type of person where I look at a color and I'm like, this exudes an emotion. Like, oh, that's like, it's too blue. Like it's just like, it's giving too much, just like boring, you know?
I hear certain sounds and I'm like, this is like so yellow.
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
I can understand that, because definitely even just things will happen or someone will say something and I'll be like, that's so blue. I recently learned people that have red hair and blue eyes are 1.7% of the population.
And you have that.
I know. I feel like I run into people that look like me all the time, but I guess not. I guess it's 1.7% of the world's population.
Wow. Well, maybe they're all out in Hollywood.
But there's more people with synesthesia than that. That's crazy.
Well, I think that it's particularly correlated with neurodivergence, especially being on the spectrum.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And there's different types of it. There's different degrees. Some people have it like with sound and smell. I can't even conceptualize that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, or touch and smell. Apparently Marilyn Monroe had it with like smell sense.
I have an insanely sensitive, like, sensory system. I can smell something and be like, it smells like this exact limited edition candy I ate when I was 8 years old. Like, I can do that. Like, one time I was at the eye doctor and I had to use the restroom, and I went in there and I was like, this smells exactly like a doodle bear I had in the 2000s. Which, did you ever have a doodle bear?
No, I don't know what that is.
So, like, doodle bears were like these stuffed animal bears, but they were made of like some sort of like canvas or some certain kind of fabric, and they came with markers, and you could write on them and then wash it and the writing would go away. And so it's called a doodle bear. And they had this very distinct smell. And I went into this restroom at the eye doctor and I was like, it smells like my doodle bear in here. And then there was like a bottle of cleaner sitting on like the sink. And so I opened it and I smelled it, and that's what it was. It was the cleaner they had used in the restroom. But I'm like very able to like place smell, especially smells. Like there's something about it where I'm like, it clicks with like a memory that I have.
Monica Lewinsky's hosting a breakfast next week that I'm going to.
What?
I'm so excited.
I didn't even know she was still like relevant or like doing things.
You know? She started a film production company and she produces stories of women
add a little more
who
bleach
have
powder to this.
been wronged. Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox.
Oh, I saw that.
That was Monica Lewinsky.
Because I love true crime. That's one of like my like special interests. I fall asleep to true crime every single night. If you want like an endless YouTube channel to watch, my favorite true crime YouTuber, her name is Kendall Rae, R-A-E. Kendall Rae.
Kendall Rae.
She makes amazing true crime content, and then her and her husband started a podcast called Mile Higher Podcast because they live in Denver. They do like true crime, and then they also do like other mysteries. Like they do like alien stuff and like all sorts of things, like cool topics. I have run out. I wait for their weekly videos to drop because I've watched everything. So like I can only watch them when they drop, and that is it. But for you would have like years of content. Like, and she posts once a week.
Kendall
so
Rae.
It's Kendall Rae. She's great. Like, I love her show. I love her podcast. Their stuff's amazing. That's my favorite true crime. And then there's this other younger girl. Her name's Haley Elizabeth. And she has a YouTube channel. And sometimes she's like doing her makeup while she's talking about true crime. And then other times it's just like true crime videos. I also really enjoy her stuff. There's this channel that's called like Mango something. And she very like sensationalizes things. I don't prefer that. I prefer like, these are the facts, this is what happened, that kind of thing. Yeah. And the reason I love supporting Kendall Rae is because she works with, I forget what it's called like NC something. It's the National Missing Children's whatever. Yeah. Whenever she drops like a merch line, all the proceeds go towards this organization that helps find missing and endangered children, which I think is like really cool. They just started doing like grants for families that have like been through true crime stuff. So she'll like cover a true crime story, and then she's like, my foundation is giving them a grant for like X amount of dollars so that they can like help with like legal fees and like bringing the killer to justice and like all that, which I think is super cool. It's like simply by watching her content, you're helping these families that have been through these awful events reach like justice or like financial stability.
It could be predatory or exploitative, right?
Yeah, extremely exploitative.
I think that's Monica Lewinsky's thing. Is she was done dirty.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
You know, and
so she's like I'm gonna do something about it. That's awesome.
Yeah, and she's produced a lot of interesting stories. I'm like so excited to hopefully meet her. Hopefully.
Yeah, that would be amazing. All right. Okay, let's get some bleach in your hair. Do you want to do rapid fire questions while we're doing this?
What do you think of Alyssa Liu's hair?
I really like it. I think she's cute, and I think it's definitely brought funky hair to a more like mainstream stage, which I think is awesome because we don't really see that a lot. And I think when I first started doing Vivid Hair, it was really sad that you couldn't have a job and have hair like that or something.
Isn't it crazy?
I think it's amazing.
People really convinced us that if you had a tattoo, it really meant something about the way you would do your job.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's crazy.
And that's what I always say to people as well, is that, you know, I might not dress the best at the salon, but how I dress has nothing to do with how I'm going to do your hair. Like, it absolutely does not. I worked at Live Nation for a bit. I didn't make nearly enough money to live, so I had to quit that job. But it was insanely boring. I mean, it was awesome. Like, you're in rooms with people like, you know, like Lady Gaga's manager. Like, I still have like a sweatshirt from her management company that he gave me because he was like, oh, we have like leftover.
Really?
Do you want one? And then like we worked with like Pharrell Williams. I got like these like shoes because it was right after COVID. So it was like shoes that like never dropped, but he meant to drop them with Adidas, and they had so many of these like samples, and so they just like gave them to us because they were like, we're just gonna throw them away.
Oh my God.
And like that's super cool. But like, you know what? I couldn't sell them for any money because they never dropped. So they were like, we don't know what these are. And I was like, they say on there they're Pharrell and Adidas collab. And they were like, yeah, but they're not on the internet, so we don't know what to price them. And I'm like, that's the point.
What was it like working for Live Nation?
It was interesting. I worked as a receptionist in the Artist Nation building. So where all like the management companies or like managers for stars work that are assigned to like Live Nation or Rock Nation.
Oh, wow.
It was fun. It was just like, underwhelming. Like, I would finish all the work they had set out for me in like the first like hour of my day. And I was there for like 9 hours or however long. And it's like, I was just bored and you're not allowed to be on your phone. But I was just like setting up conference rooms for like meetings. I met like quite a few famous people through it.
Really?
So I have like some kind of intel on like how nice or not nice people are. But
anything you want to share to the camera?
Oh gosh, I don't want to be rude, but
naming names, maybe?
There's a TikToker girl who got like decently famous for doing music. She's really rude and really not nice. She's not super popular right now.
Can I ask you who it is and we'll bleep it?
Yes. How'd you know?
I don't
know. She's so rude, actually. A celebrity I met that was super nice. I guess I can say his name because he was super nice, but I met Usher a few times and he was awesome. He was so sweet.
Everyone says that.
But
Everyone.
he's a lot shorter than his Wikipedia says he is.
Really?
Yeah. It was like right after COVID, so we had the doors locked. I had to like let people in if they were approved. And there was one time I had to like let him in and I didn't know who he was. And so I let him in and he was like maybe an inch taller than me and I'm 5'5". He had like this gigantic chain that had a U on it and I was like, is that Usher? And so then I looked him up and it was him. But his Wikipedia says he's 5'8". And I'm like, I'm calling BS on that one.
Yeah, but people do really say that he's nice. He is beloved.
No, he is so kind. And I also met, I don't know if it's just like his wife, but she would also come in for like certain meetings. And she was also super sweet. Like, they're both so kind and nice. Like, especially in the context of like meeting famous people, like uber famous people, they're very, very nice. I used to work in production as well. So I met like a few celebrities through that as well. And there's a really famous girl I worked on a movie with and she was insufferable. Like, she was actually awful. And she's very famous and the movie still hasn't come out yet. And I worked on it almost 5 years ago. There's just a big fandom around her. People love her.
Oh my God.
Maybe she's changed since then. It's been 5 years. Maybe she's really nice and sweet now, but she was insufferable to work with. The celebrity that's like, don't look at me. You know? Like that vibe. Like, you're too poor to look at me.
Oh my God.
The PAs are not allowed to look in her direction. Like, she's really rude.
I've heard that about Ellen too, for real.
Oh, definitely
Someone
Ellen. Yeah.
I know worked on her show. You have crazy lore.
Billie Eilish is like insanely talented. Like, insanely talented. So I think her time would have come no matter what. I think it gave her a lot of pull with the queer community and like the alt community. I think that was like the first time that was really like, I'm one of you. And so then people could like identify with that and like that really grabbed them in. But do I think hair color has kind of a factor to someone's fame? Yes, Alyssa Liu would be a great example of that. I genuinely don't think there would have been such a big deal about her this Olympics if it weren't for her hair. And her personality and like her like aesthetic, I think had a huge role.
Don't you think in both cases it was not necessarily what the hair looked like, but what it represented? Like for Alyssa Liu, her hair represented a divergence from convention and how she's not going to do anything like the conventional way. She was really defining herself as an alt girl, and for Billie Eilish as well. I mean, why do you think it represented her entrance into the queer community, or like a hello to the queer community?
I think her aesthetic changed around that time, and I think it was very like queer presenting. I agree with you in the way that, you know, it makes this statement about them. Like before you actually know what they do or the quality of what they do, it already says something about them, which is why I had vivid hair. I had like rainbow colored hair for a very long time because it was my own way of being like, you can tell something about me before I have to say it to you.
Yeah.
I think that definitely plays a huge factor into like celebrities that we see like changing their hair color in that way. I think it's really powerful, but I don't necessarily think all the time it like hinges on their success, you know?
It signposts to their fandom. I think of like Frank Ocean, he released 2 different versions of the cover, one with the feminine E, one without the feminine E in the French, right? It was like quite a statement about gender and masculinity and femininity, even though it was a hair color.
Yeah.
Blonde.
But he's also in the queer community. There's another layer to it as well, right?
Well, and
like,
that's precisely why it means something.
9 times out of 10, someone that has a hair color that's extremely different from the norm is going to be a very open-minded person. And that's naturally going to lead to a lot of intelligent thinking. You're breaking norms in a way. So there has to be something there in your thought process that is, provoking thought and differing from society and the norms. So I think definitely the notion that, oh, blue hair is liberal. I mean, I would say almost any vivid hair color, I would go as far to say it as you're some form of like open-minded, for sure. There is some sort of connection between certain communities and hair color. I think that is pretty well known in today's time. But I do think it is cool that people have the ability to like change their hair and it entirely changes their aesthetic as a person and helps them express themselves. I think that was like a huge part of doing hair for me from the beginning, was that I'm able to help others feel their best. I'm able to help them express themselves in ways that like they wouldn't really be able to do without me. I think that gives like a huge sense of purpose and understanding.
It absolutely should not be underestimated. Beauty is very political. Beauty is very meaningful. People think of it as like hierarchical. No matter who you are, no matter what you're born with, you can pursue your look in interesting ways to make it say something about you, and it can always be good. Like everyone can be
1000%. Everybody has a different flavor, right? And there's so many people on this planet that there's going to be a group or a corner of people that all like the same flavor. And so no matter what you do to yourself, it can be appealing, it can be sexy, it can be different or whatever. There's so many ways that you can be appealing, and it might not be to the masses, it might not be to everyone, it might be to a certain group. But I think hair plays a huge part in that. Men are very precise about the haircut that they get for the most part because it is their makeup, it is their aesthetic. You know, of course they can dress around it, but a lot of men don't wear makeup or they don't color their hair, and so that haircut is very important to their aesthetic. What vibe do they want to give off?
It's a little bit easier than fashion because you just have to worry about it once every few weeks or months or something.
Yeah. My parents both have brown hair, but my sister and I are both gingers naturally. And obviously I dye one half of it blonde now, but that's after a lot of like trying different colors. Thank you. But I feel like I've always been the opposite, where I'm like, oh, I wish I had like naturally like dark hair, dark eyebrows, like darker features. Like I think the grass is always greener, right? Like you want what you don't have. But I've always like looked up to like a natural like brunette with like dark eyebrows, dark eyelashes, like the whole thing, you know?
My godmother was a Playboy bunny. Oh. I was like mystified by the blonde. And then I did go platinum blonde when I went to college. It's a lot of upkeep with the dark. I didn't dye my eyebrows though, so that was a mistake.
I honestly like dark eyebrows with platinum hair though. Dyeing your eyebrows, like I think for some people it really works if you want to have like that high fashion, like editorial, like model look for day to day. Like I honestly like dark eyebrows with blonde hair. I don't know if that's like trashy or
no. I think everything
like
can look good.
Yeah,
everything can look good, and that's what I was gonna say to your point earlier. It really is just about the confidence. It really is.
2 weeks ago, my best friend and I were like, oh, let's go to the thrift store and pick out the ugliest thing we could find, possibly. And then let's go to the dive bar that we always go to and wear it. Where, mind you, every bartender, security, everybody knows us. We were wearing the most ugly clown, awful outfits you could ever see in your whole life. And nobody said anything about it because we were wearing it so confidently. Literally, like, men were coming up to us being like, oh, like, you guys look so cute. Like, what's with the outfits? And I'm like, I look awful. I look like a clown hired for a child's birthday party.
I frequently dress like a clown, I think.
Look at me now. I gotta show you a photo. It was so genuinely bad. Like, it was not even in like the ironic way of bad. I mean, it kind of was the ironic way of bad, but it was like really genuinely awful. And we were just like, just for fun, right? To like spice it up. But yeah, it was just funny, like the reactions that we got because we were wearing it confidently, so then people like didn't really say anything about it.
But the fact that you were committed to the idea of clown probably helped.
These were the outfits we went to the bar.
I would talk to you. It was
crazy. There was one girl of the whole night that talked to us, and she was like, so sorry if this is offensive, but is it like a costume night or something? Because we saw this girl inside that's wearing like Britney Spears like schoolgirl costume, and we were like, what are you talking about? We're not wearing costumes.
And
like,
then what did they say?
She was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And her boyfriend was like, stop fucking with us. And we were like, no, like, what are you talking about? Like, this is just what we wear, you know? Like, we were just trying to like play with it, but nobody really said anything. And by the end of the night, like, guys were offering to buy us drinks just because I don't know. I think if you just wear something confidently enough, like, nobody thinks anything of it.
Also, people are way more interested in the person that's interesting than just the person that's hot.
Oh, 1,000%, 1,000%. Yeah. You can see someone who's hot almost anywhere. Where are you gonna see somebody in a clown costume at a bar? You gotta make things interesting. Spice it up a little bit.
Absolutely.
You have to like exercise your free will from time to time in order to like stay in tune with like, none of this is real. Just do what you want to do, you know? Exercise your free will.
Oh my God, we're gonna have so much fun. I'm so glad we met.
Yeah, I'm so excited. You know, I'd have a client who's like a nurse, or I'd have a client who's like in nursing school, or I'd have a client who's like in college, or I'd have a client who, you know, works from home. Very different lifestyles. Definitely more on the younger side for sure. I would have like a few clients who are a bit older, mostly younger people. But it was great. Like, I loved working with that community because it's a lot of people who are very like, oh, I want purple, but I don't really care what shade of purple, so just like do your thing and be creative. Yes. Whereas I feel like here in LA, there is like a lot of pressure to like replicate the exact inspo photo they came in with.
Really?
And so that's really tested me as a hairstylist, and I've learned that that's something that I am able to do, but it requires an insane amount of effort and thought and like perfectionism. It like truly takes everything in you to recreate a photo that someone comes in with, because sometimes it's AI, sometimes it's not even real, and also like you don't know what, you know, that person's before that inspo photo they came in with, and you're starting with something completely different possibly, you know,
versus your intuition as a, you know, as an artist. You can actually use your intuition to
exactly. Yeah, I look for key things such as like, if in the inspo photo any of that person's base color is left behind, like their color that they're naturally born with. Someone might come in with like this very like blonde photo that has maybe like dark blonde in between it, and I'm like, well, you have brown hair, so it's not going to look the same on you. I can get you to that same blonde, but what's in between the blonde will not be the same. So I can either attempt to lift your hair to that point, like basically do what we call a base break, or we can leave your natural in between, but it's not going to look exactly like that photo. So there's like a lot of things that go into it. And then on top of that, you know, if they're like, well, I just want to look exactly like this photo, I'm like, okay, well, are you going to come back in every 5 weeks for me to completely retouch? Because when your natural hair grows back in, you're going to have this harsh line of like,
that was me.
Everything is different, you know?
Yeah.
So it's very intricate, and it's very like, I have to assess what I'm seeing, assess what the person has come in with, and kind of be like, okay, here's what is real and here's what's not. And is this okay with you? And what middle ground can we reach?
Over here, being a redhead is a really cool thing. You've got like the fiery red hair and everyone loves it. And then back at home, everyone's like, you're a ginger and you have no soul.
Friend Max was there and he said, You look a lot funnier as a redhead.
Do blondes have more fun?
I think redheads have the best fun.
Red hair has some associations with being fiery. Are you a natural redhead?
Yeah.
Okay.
But like strawberry blonde, so like more orange, I guess.
Okay.
But yeah. I think there's a difference between like a natural red and natural red.
True,
I would say
very true.
a lot of natural redheads that I've met are actually quite timid.
You're right, which is a shame because it's like such a bold, beautiful, like beautiful
1,000%.
look. And it's because high schoolers, for some reason, are weird about redheads.
Yeah, I know. I got bullied for being a redhead. Yeah,
I think they're threatened because it's so rare.
Yeah, I went to Catholic school actually, and up until high school. So, like junior high school, I got like absolutely reamed, like bullied. At Catholic school, it was you're the spawn of Satan. It's the mark of Satan because you're a redhead, and like they would like go as far to like nobody would talk to me because I was like associated with Satan because I had like naturally red hair, vivid red hair, unnaturally red hair.
Hayley Williams.
Yeah, like that's definitely a mark of like, I wouldn't say fiery more than like this person knows what they want. They know what they want and they know what they like.
It gives cherry emoji, dark red rose, withered emoji.
Yes. Yeah.
I think it's significant that she's changed her hair color.
I haven't seen it recently. What is it?
She's blonde now.
Okay.
I think it means something that she changed her hair color. It's like a new. It's like
I think it's because she doesn't have to tell people who she is anymore. I think like the orange and the red and the really vibrant hair was very much of like I was saying before, it says something about her without her having to tell you. I truly think Hayley Williams is one of the best, if not the best, vocalists of our time.
She is absolutely.
She's insane. She doesn't need the crazy hair color anymore. We know who she is and we know what she can do, and she doesn't have to like prove it.
I dedicate this red to Hayley Williams.
Yeah. I'm gonna check on it. People use red hair in the same way you were saying blonde earlier as like a mark of like, look at me, I'm here, I'm different, and I'm in this like new phase of myself.
Love this. First of all, red is a scorpion color. I believe that. I loved it because it was still edgy and in your face. I mean,
people go through like a red hair phase when like they want to bring that side of themselves out, and I think that maybe that's where the social stigma also comes from. But I would say like most people who like are consistently red, it has nothing to do with their personality. They just like it on themselves.
You mentioned timidity. I think there's a certain regality also. Nicole Kidman's like a perfect example.
I can understand that. I think my eye kind of goes towards Emma Stone or
being redhead is like such a part of her charm.
Yeah, I was blonde my whole life, and then I dyed my hair brown when I was 15, and then I went in for Superbad, and the other girl had brown hair, and so Judd Apatow walked in and just said, "Make it red."
What kind of power does Judd Apatow have? And it shall be red.
Classify her as a stereotypically like fierce or like fiery woman. I think she has like quite a timid side to her. Same with like Emma Watson, right?
Yeah,
Emma Watson, natural redhead, strawberry blonde.
Susan Sarandon.
But there's this like grace and like timidity to them that's really like beautiful.
To me, Marie Gilmore feels like a redhead.
I can understand that. I can understand the sentiment of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love her. I really love her. Did you watch Gilmore Girls?
I've seen some of it, yeah.
I never watched it until like last year.
I haven't seen all of it, and that's something I need to do.
It's very healing.
I want to talk about the femme fatale, a representation of female darkness, both metaphorically and as it played out, literally, via hair colour too. The blonde bombshell is often innocent, or at least less learned and more spontaneous in her corruption. I'm interested in the way Hollywood made the metaphor so literal by mapping these nebulous qualities of dark and light, good and bad, onto their blonde and brunette starlets.
There are many more blonde actresses than there are brunette actresses, so the chances of the heroine being blonde are statistically greater, and so then you want a visual opposite to portray the evil girl, and I am that.
Regardless of if we have synesthesia or if we want to admit it or not, color plays on some sort of emotion, right? Like if you see somebody dressed in all black, you're like, oh, they look like sad or they look like depressed
there's
or whatever.
Something.
You know, there's a darkness to you, you know? Yeah. Whereas you see somebody that's like blonde and dressed in white or whatever, and you're like, oh, she must be so bubbly. And it's like, that actually has nothing to do with the person.
Yes, absolutely nothing.
Nothing. But there's such a societal standard between dark and light, right? So it can evoke emotion based on your personal experiences and society's experiences. I also think too, in order for somebody to have such power to like portray the femme fatale or like the bubbly blonde, like that person truly, it has to be the right color for them. Like you could throw a blonde wig on a brunette, but she's not going to be able to sell it the way that someone who truly looks amazing blonde and feels amazing blonde, she's not going to be able to sell it the same way. Yeah. Because truly, like I do think there are colors that suit people better than others, but it takes a lot of like trying different stuff to figure out where you land on that spectrum.
Plus the makeup and the clothes matter. There's no rules, but these are all different levers you can pull to create some kind of harmony.
1,000%. And I think
makeup, lighting,
confidence
clothing, hair,
is confidence. Like all the way up there.
Absolutely. And
how can you sell it? Like how can you like really, really sell it? How confident can you be?
Confidence really overrules anything. Like I've seen people break all sorts of beauty rules. I mentioned Zoe Kravitz earlier. I feel like she does it all the time and she just like is so beautiful.
She looks different in every movie, but she's absolutely gorgeous.
She's so beautiful and she's so relaxed in herself. That's what it is about her.
She has understated confidence.
Yeah.
She's not like, oh, I'm here and I'm super confident. It's like she just is and we accept. Like she just like is.
I often felt growing up that my naturally dark features gave people a lot of preconceived impressions about me. Naturally, I had bigger boobs as a teenager, very early, but I think specifically the darkness of the eyes, the eyelashes, and the hair made people assume I was like a little more evil. I swear. I swear.
I think I can understand that in the same way that we were just talking about, you know, like the femme fatale versus like the bubbly blondes. Like I think there's assumptions that come with dark hair. Someone maybe looks more intimidating because they have dark hair and dark features. But it's completely made up. It's all societal. It's none of it is real.
And we can change all of it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think I felt that a lot being like someone from the Middle East moving to New Zealand, where I obviously looked like I was from somewhere different. It was exoticized in this weird way, and like people asked me if I went to school in a camel and stuff, and I was never very offended by that. But yeah, it also seeped into the interpersonal stuff for sure.
1,000%, yeah.
When you have clients coming to you, do you feel like what people are looking for varies in relation to different demographics, like age, city, location?
I would say yes. I think I've experienced that since I've done hair. I did hair for 3 years in Ohio, and then I've been doing it for about 4 here. I had a lot more like vivid clients, a lot more like alternative clients in Ohio, which I naturally thought there would be more of here.
Yeah, it's so fascinating.
But I think a lot of the alternative people here actually already have dedicated stylists, or they do it on their own. I don't think the group is as tight-knit here as it is in Ohio. In Ohio, the alt community is so intertwined that, you know, you do one person's hair and then you end up doing their friend's hair and their roommate's hair and somebody else's hair. And so you find yourself having like all these clients that fit this like one certain demographic, whereas here it's like I have anybody and everybody, you know, like the oldest client I've ever taken is 93 and the youngest one I've ever taken is 13. Like,
wow, what's a 93-year-old getting?
She had like really grown out grades, and a guy from her church brought her, and she couldn't walk, she was in a wheelchair, and he wanted her to get her roots dyed back brown, and she couldn't speak any English, she only spoke Spanish, and I speak very, very little Spanish. So we didn't communicate much during the appointment, but she was so happy. And
I love that.
By the time we were like wheeling her out of the salon, like the little guy from her church, like he was like, I've never seen her smile so much. Like she's so happy about it. And I was like, good, I'm glad I did a good job. I can't communicate very well, but yeah, I mean, very, very young. I mean, actually, I think the youngest client I've had is way younger than 13. I think one of my vivid clients, actually, I do her and her mom's hair, and I think she was 9 when I started doing her hair. So I see a really large age range of people, and here especially I think there's less people that fit into boxes. Yeah. So I think I don't see too much of a trend here specifically of like, oh, this person is this age so they get this. I think it's really scattered here because everybody is breaking the norms here. I think the first time I dyed my hair, I think I was either 14 or 15. I think I was 15, and I dyed it like bright purple. And that was like a coming of age moment for me. That was like, I'm gonna bleach my hair in the bathroom and I am gonna dye it purple.
Let the thick smell of bleach meet her at the doorway like a force that'll usher her into the next chapter of Lane Kim's life.
Girls at that age, that's like the first time you feel the inkling to like really express yourself.
Individuate.
Yeah.
Small town New Zealand and Dubai, there was something called tall poppy syndrome. If you're a poppy that stands out too much, like people want to chop the poppy down.
Oh, we don't have that.
It's called tall poppy syndrome. People don't like it when a young person like
overly expresses themselves. Yeah. I think here it's kind of like a rite of passage almost. Like when you're that age, it's like you either continue to fall in line or you step out. And I think it should be more normalized and like allowed for girls that age.
I think
good.
that's
You're
so
getting
true.
kind of late. That's good.
Okay.
We'll let it sit for like 10 more minutes.
Sia, very interesting, distinctive hair choice.
She's a very controversial person.
Oh, really?
So from what I've heard, she has like Maddie from Dance Moms.
Yeah.
So I've just heard some really like controversial stuff about her, and apparently she also like executive produced a movie about autism, and she had Maddie pretend to be autistic but like nonverbal. I don't know if it ever ended up coming out because there was so much backlash before it got released. I think it was called Speak or Sing. I forget. It's about a profoundly autistic person who was like essentially nonverbal. She purposely wanted Maddie Ziegler to pretend to be profoundly autistic, and it came off as very like tone deaf and very like ableist, and I don't know that the movie ever got released. I'm interested to look it up because this was a few years ago.
Wow.
But ever since then, I think people have kind of like fucked with her a little less. Like people are
Really?
like, oh, she's kind of like not.
Yeah, I haven't really heard about her recently.
Yeah.
I
I think she kind of went out of the limelight after the movie because the movie was supposed to be like, because it was when she was like really getting like super popular, and then she was like, oh, I'm gonna release this movie and it's gonna like launch me or whatever, and I think it like did the exact opposite, and I think it made a lot of people like really not like align with her. But as far as her hair goes, it's definitely a wig.
Because she was a songwriter, I think,
Mhm.
and she was around for a while. This might be wrong, but for some reason I heard that because she was a bit insecure about her age, she had the disguise to kind of like...
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was insecurity or if it was just wanting to like not get recognized on the street, like a Hannah Montana moment, you know, like not really be able to like have people know exactly what she looks like. But you know, I have actually seen video and heard in the earlier days she performed with her face out. She performed at Coachella with her face out.
Yeah, it was like not that consistent, I guess, right?
It was like once the fame started to pick up, she started covering her face. So I'm not really sure. It could also likely, and my best guess is that it's a gimmick. It's to further the fame, right?
helpful.
Like, oh,
Yeah,
there's a
it's very
singer that
helpful.
doesn't show her face, and that's different, and it's a gimmick that
And the
could
hair
get you
was
more famous.
It was also just like eye catching as well.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't
blonde
just like
bangs
gimmick,
straight
and the
across her
bow,
eyes, yeah, and the
half
bow,
black.
yes, yeah.
Songwriters that were becoming artists but had really big chops as songwriters, like Skylar Grey, Sia, even Charlie XCX early. It was hard, evidently, for them to kind of like stand out, and Sia like managed to with the hair.
Yeah.
Kylie Jenner.
I always try to be different. I always try to do new things. I think my following started to get a little bigger when I really was just finding out like my style and who I was and dyeing my hair, and like not everyone was like dyeing their hair blue and green, you know? People know I kind of just like do what I want.
She was like poster child for changing hair colors a lot. King Kylie.
I think Kylie was like a victim to the internet. Like I think like most of Kylie's hair choices kind of revolved around like what's trending on Tumblr, what's trending on Pinterest, what's trending on Instagram, and she was just kind of like.
But she was one of us. She's a Tumblr girl.
I was gonna say because she's kind of the same age, so she lived through the progression of the internet the same way, and like I truly think she was just like straight up a victim of the internet. Like she was seeing things, she was like, oh, I want to try this, you know.
She really was one of the girls,
and she
like,
had
just
a
on the
limited
internet.
like amounts of money and access, so it's like she could get the best hairstylist to dye her hair pink or the best hairstylist to dye her hair blue. Like, so I mean, why wouldn't you? I think if I was in her shoes in that same time, I probably would have done the same thing. I was doing the same thing, but in my bathroom.
Absolutely. I think like her and Kendall, when they did the Met Gala look where they were orange and purple, was just like the perfect Met Gala look. That was just like you know, you guys really got it.
Yeah.
She's been quite natural recently, but she was like a fun color hair icon.
There was a time. It was the King Kylie phase.
I don't want to be a weirdo. I don't want to pull up with purple hair. I'm over it.
Okay, I'm in love with Pamela Anderson.
I love Pamela Anderson too. I also love, what's her name? Anna Taylor Smith. And I love Dolly Parton. All because they're like bombshell blondes, right?
Yeah,
like they're like
Anya's
blonde,
a different
bangs,
kind though.
yes.
She's like more like of a distant beauty, whereas like Pamela and Dolly feel like...
I know who you're talking. Wait. You're talking about Anya
Taylor-Joy.
Yeah. Okay. I'm talking about. I'll show you.
Anna Nicole Smith.
Yes, Anna Nicole Smith.
Oh, okay. Yes. This makes sense. The grouping
because she's giving like very like Dolly.
Oh my
right?
god, absolutely. She's so beautiful.
Like, love them. They're so bombshell blonde. I think they play a key part in society's premonitions about blondes and bombshell blondes. And what did I have a timer set for?
The hair?
Your hair. I was like, wait, when did I set a timer?
You're sort of the 90s Marilyn Monroe. Now, Marilyn always wanted people to take her seriously, but you seem to have a real handle on that. You seem to not care. But are you still working on your acting?
I think they play a huge part in that because I think they're all like quite like bubbly and like sex symbol type of gals, right?
Kind girls though also. I
but
think
also
that's
very
a key
kind.
part.
We're gonna do 10 more minutes.
Okay. Sorry, his hair is stubborn.
No, it's okay. And if we have to like pause at some point to wait for it, that's totally fine.
They're kind, beautiful girls.
Yes, but they do like kind of play into like that sexuality part, right? That like kind of like allures people.
Certainly a choice. I just decided that I would do something that would at least get the attention. Once they got past the shock of the ridiculous way I looked and all that, then they would see there was parts of me to be appreciated. Show business is a money-making joke, and I just always liked telling jokes. You know?
I love it. I recently have been seeing a lot of stuff about Dolly, about how you would never recognize her if she wasn't in her hair and makeup because apparently her hair is fake. And,
really? Well, that makes sense.
And obviously the makeup is very done up, and so
Sabrina too, right?
Right? Yes. I mean, I feel like I'd be able to recognize her anywhere because
she has a very distinct face.
she has a very distinct face. That is one of my very like what draws me to Sabrina is that she feels very Dolly, alluring and like creating like this fantasy that's like both classy and sexy at the same time, but like fun and girly.
Like Yoo-hoo boys wink wink.
Yeah, like, I love it. Like I love
too.
her aesthetic. I think whoever did her rebranding deserves a gold medal. They killed it.
Killed it.
Like,
Absolutely killed it.
She is so
like the
good.
Charlie rebrand, the Sabrina rebrand.
Zara Larson's rebrand.
Yeah, Zara Larson and Tate McRae.
Yes.
Because she was doing like indie ballads.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chaperone rebrand.
Yeah.
Also.
All of them. Like, I need to meet all those people and shake their hands.
Styling
honestly.
matters. Actually, Sabrina Carpenter's a great example of someone who used color massively. So did Chaperone.
Absolutely.
Well, Chaperone and Sabrina Carpenter both with the hair color.
Mm-hmm.
I think being red feels so perfect for Chapel.
It does.
It feels like rebellious and bold.
But it's still
also
a quite natural hair color.
Natural, yeah. And then Sabrina feels like blonde pinup girl, you know, platinum blonde Playboy bunny-ish. Like,
she definitely plays into like the bubbly vibe of things.
Candyman's Christina Aguilera, that song. Da 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 da. Sweet sugar. Candyman.
Oh, I know what song you're talking about, but I didn't know that that's what it was called. But yes,
her pinup era.
Yes. I think what we're seeing more in that sense is not that those people who have those hair colors have those traits, more as people have those hair colors and then play into those traits to then further their career because they know that's what society expects of them.
Well, absolutely. You're choosing, like, you know that culture is loaded with all these assumptions and you can reject those assumptions and you can also use them to your advantage, and that's like the fun joy of being a female is like finding your agency, and like there are no rules. It's literally how you feel about it.
Yeah.
I think like Charlie XCX, Chappell Roan, and Sabrina Carpenter all kind of like having a huge moment in the same summer. They're like the Powerpuff Girls.
It felt so amazing because it felt like oh my God, pop stars are back. Like,
yeah, I know.
Like, I felt like a kid again. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, we're so back.
So
like,
back, so back.
It made me so excited and so happy. Because they all have, like, something so different to offer as well.
Okay, Rosalia being a natural brunette, I feel like that feels like an important part of, like, her artistic identity. It's just interesting that, like, making a color choice or not making a color choice can, like, equally be a statement.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And it's all up to how you narrate it. Really.
Yeah. Making that choice or not making the choice, is equally as important. I like that.
And frankly, most of the time, people aren't going to even have an assumption about it unless you've self-narrated it in a way.
Exactly.
And that's what's so empowering about it is, like, if you decide to do nothing with your hair, people aren't even going to think about it. But if you decide to do something with your hair and say about it, or do nothing with your hair and say something interesting about it, that is interesting.
Yeah, and then it makes it a statement. Whereas it likely wouldn't be. For Olivia Rodrigo, if she were to do anything to her hair, it would completely change who she is
You're
as a person.
so right about that.
Like,
You're so right
I
about
think
that.
her lack of doing anything to her hair is the perfect choice. I could not imagine her doing anything else.
Camila Cabello felt like that to me before, and then when she went blonde for hyperpop, it was like, oh, this works for hyperpop. This is so right for that. But like absent of like
it's
hyperpop,
like a different
anything
character
else.
for her.
Yes. Okay, the last one I want to ask about is Florence and the Machine. I really feel like being a natural redhead feels very like Florence and the Machine. It feels right, like they feel aligned because of the fact that her red hair connects to, I guess, her identity, English, and I imagine her ancestry as well.
Yeah, I would agree with you that she just feels like a redhead, and her music just feels
witchy.
Yes, she just feels like a redhead. Like I couldn't imagine her as a blonde or a brunette, but
no, it would be so.
I don't know. Yeah, I think being a redhead is a powerful statement. I think I like struggled with that in myself a lot too, whereas like when I was younger, people would always be like, oh, never ruin your red hair, like never dye it, never do anything to it, and that only like made me want to do something more. And then when I eventually like of you. Yeah, exactly. When I finally arrived back at like having my natural hair again, I mean obviously I still have half of it blonde, but I think that was like a really empowering moment for me where it was like truly I feel like being a redhead exemplifies who I am as a person and the things that I've been through, but like also I just enjoy it. I think it like gives you this weird middle ground where like you can't really be defined quite yet. Like you have to get to know me in order to know what I'm about.
That's because people don't know enough redheads.
Yeah.
So it's like quite mysterious.
But I think that's why it works for Florence because she's
elusive.
Mysterious. Yeah,
she's
witchy.
Elusive. For me, she feels, because I love her music so much. I also love her self-presentation so much.
Yeah.
She feels like a portal between worlds, or like a connector between worlds. Her music to me feels like that. Like it feels like it connects me to a higher plane.
Yeah.
It does feel like sprightly or like, I don't know.
No,
I also have like Irish and Welsh ancestry, so I think that's in my head that there's some mythology to her.
I have a lot of, I think my highest amount of ethnicity is Welsh. I think that's the country my family is most of, and then the other side of my family is Ukrainian and Serbian. So like mostly like Eastern European, Slavic. Yeah. I think for her it just fits perfect, and for her to keep that, I think is amazing. I love it because we have very little representation of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I find it classy. I find it charming. I find it elusive and mysterious. I just think it fits. Yeah, very rich. It fits her so perfectly.
Okay, what was your worst hair color mistake on yourself?
On myself? I don't know. I think the original like purple that I did on myself was pretty bad, but that was because it was done in my bathroom when I was like 15 and I hadn't been to hair school yet. So I was just like bleaching the crap out of my hair and then like putting Manic Panic over it. So that was pretty bad. But other than that, I mean, I've tried a lot of different hair colors. Actually, okay, I've been doing split dye for about probably like almost 8 years. I've been doing split dye.
Is that what this?
Yeah, like a half and half.
8 years you've been doing that. That's a signature. That's
and I did a lot of different colors before. Like it started out with I did like half blue, half purple.
Wow.
And then I did like half blue going into green and half like purple going into pink. There was one time I did it though, and I absolutely hated it. And it was half red, half ginger, but it was like fake red. and then like ginger.
Interesting.
And I did not like that. It was really, really bad. And so then I actually put brown over one side of it, and I did brown and ginger for quite a while. And then
That's cool.
I think it was 4 years ago, I decided to do the blonde instead of the brown. So I decided to do blonde instead of ginger. And so for the last 4 years, I've been half
really
ginger, half
good.
blonde. Yeah.
It's very nice.
Thank
Do
you.
you find that people, like, is that a conversation starter when you meet people?
Sometimes I would say originally when I did it, maybe like 6 to 8 months after I did it, I saw like a bunch of friends I hadn't seen in a while, and they were all like, "This is your signature, never change it. Like this is so you."
They're obviously different, but they don't look unnatural together somehow. It's like the undertones are perfect or something.
I get 2 questions. I get, which one is your real hair? A lot. They don't know whether I'm a natural blonde or I'm a natural redhead. And then I also get I didn't know your hair was split dye. I didn't realize it was 2 different colors. And I'm like, oh. But I mean, I think when it's like back or up or whatever, like people just don't notice.
And you can do 2 portraits and have like 2 totally
completely
looks.
different. Yeah.
Wow.
Which is cool. I mean, I definitely enjoy it. I don't think I'll ever change it, honestly. I think that it would just be this forever.
If it weren't for upkeep, I would change my hair all the time.
We should wash out your blonde. He's actually so rude and weird. And then you're just wasting your money.
I believe in the totemic power of things.
He's like really famous. She would take her flip-flops off and like fall asleep face down. It's the only thing that gets my 40-year-old son out of the basement. We do cosmetology and forestry. And I'm like, I'm 16, Mrs. Malucci. I've never held a cigarette. We would like dip off into the woods, and then we'd like build a shack out of like trees and shit.
No way. Who is doing cocaine on the internet, and where is that allowed? Okay, I have to see the other side of your head, so...
Yeah, technically.
Help yourself. James, have you got your hair any color? Why? Never.
Guys, I always like suggest like keep your natural root, because you're only gonna have it for a few weeks, and it's gonna grow out terribly if I like go all the way.
Do a lot of people in Hollywood just have really short hair and they're always wearing wigs?
I think a lot of people wear wigs. Wig culture is definitely like nobody's embarrassed to wear.
No one. And why would you be? You know,
Yeah.
it's so fun. Like who? Like it's so. It would be
very
so
like non-committal, so you can just like wear a wig and then have a completely different hair color the same day, next day, whatever.
The idea of someone being upset by or offended or caring about the realness or lack of realness of wig culture seems so like stiff. Yeah,
it
like
doesn't really exist anymore. It used to, but not anymore.
I wore a wig to my graduation.
Really?
A silver one.
Your college or high school?
College.
That's so cool.
It was really fun. I don't know why.
You just felt like it?
I know, it looks so cool, right?
Oh my god, it looks gorgeous.
I'm so excited for you to be able to like rock it, you know?
Ariel, famous red-headed creature.
No way at all. Fierce. I mean, kind of.
Well,
But not like in like the way you think, you know? Not like...
She's an interesting one because she did decide to try a different species out, which is very bold.
Yes.
But she really
She's bold, but she's not like bitchy fierce, you know? She's not fiery, I would say, for the most part.
Not like the redhead from Shock Tale.
Yeah. Lola.
Angelina, yes. Oh my god, it's so cool.
It's so cute.
I love it.
You match the backdrop.
That's so perfect.
You match the backdrop and the couch.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
This is so fun.
It was so fun.
Thank you for telling me all about color and hair.
Of
and everything
course.
else.
Anytime. Yeah, and it'll grow out like super natural because you don't have like any like harsh lines. Like it's all just like really like blended in to your natural hair. So you'll just be able to like wear it as long as you want to wear it.
I love it.